So this is one of those situations where I already know what this show is going to be like, which is not always the case when you hear these words that come before the news. But I've already recorded this show, and I know how good it is. And we sort of fell in love with this panel. Two jazz pianists and composers, Jen Allen and Noah Behrman, and then a jazz critic, Gene Seymour. They have now been doing this for many years. And we don't call it the best jazz of 2025 or whatever year it is. We call it our favorite jazz because it's so hard really to decide what the best is. So things that we really, really liked or that they really, really liked. I'm just here to learn stuff. I think you'll learn stuff too. You will also hear some very, very beautiful music on this show. So sit back, relax. All right, so welcome to our favorite jazz of 2025 show. This is, I believe, I've been told, the 13th year we have done this. We never have missed one. And, yes, and with us, we have the magical three. Jen Allen, pianist, composer, arranger, educator. Her new album is Possibilities. Noah Behrman, pianist, composer, and educator, 2025. He released a 4-volume series of albums called Right Now. Gene Seymour is the mayor of the 2025 and every single year favorite jazz show that we do. Writer, professional, spectator, pop culture maven, and jazz geek. That was Curtis Noasad. What we'll do is we're going to sort of play a little bit of some of the songs that got picked here and then talk about them. It's not a very complicated format, I guess. So this is Curtis Noasad. It's called Choices, A Butterfly Breaks Free. It features the vocalist Joanna Majoko. And the album is called I Am Doing My Best. This is a Noah Behrman nomination, although it could have easily come from Jen as well. So, Noah, I don't know, start us off here.
Well, Curtis, in addition to being one of Winnipeg's favorite sons, is a wonderful drummer, composer, and I've really enjoyed hearing him lean into his songwriter hat. This is a theme for all the things I picked this year, but a real embrace of vulnerability in this music that may make it sound touchy-feely, but he's such a powerful musician, and you can hear Andrew Renfro, Hart alum, on guitar there, ripping. This mixture of power and vulnerability, which should not be opposing forces, of course, is really intense on this record.
Yeah. By the way, Joanna Majoko is a really interesting singer. I thought she was just going to be another German Zimbabwean singer to come out of the Manitoba jazz scene, but I think that's actually is that. But she's not just that. She's not another one of those. No, I think she's a really exciting singer. And I guess she's like, if you live in Canada and you like jazz, you probably are more likely to know who she is. She performs up there a lot. So yeah, Jen, some reactions. I know this was one that you considered nominating to the album.
Yeah, I mean, both Noah and I have played with Curtis and know Curtis, so it was an easy listen for me when he put out the album. And yeah, kind of to what Noah's saying, I'm really drawn to music right now that is digging a little deeper than just I'm trying to show my chops or, something like that. This has a lot of meaning and feeling and behind it. And yeah, I was touched by a lot of these pieces. And I think the singer actually sounds a little bit like Gretchen Parlato. I'm always a little good pass. Just a little bit like that.
I see that. And Mr. Mayor, how about you?
I like the blend. I like the way all these different elements, I mean, you were talking about his power, but I really am drawn by the choices they make in terms of how they mix everything together, especially her voice. This is the first time I've heard her. The Perlotta comparison is pretty good, but there are so many others who have the kind of way she has with the modal stuff, that she does with her vocalizing. It's I mean, it sounds strange to say this, but there's a solidity about it, even though it seems to be very mosaic-like. I mean, that's my impression.
This feels like an album too that, and I listened to most of the album. You could get pretty intense about it and really, drill down into what you're listening to. But you could also just put it on while you're cooking, and I mean, you'd be really happy. You'd be thinking, wow, this is a lovely thing to listen to. So it works both of those ways. So yeah, I think we all like this a lot, and you're going to hear a lot more vocal albums. Every year there's just a few more vocal albums, and a lot of times it's because somebody like Noah Sad has decided or somebody like Jen Allen for that matter, I'm gonna have vocals this time. So that seems to be a thing that's happening. So speaking of Jen Allen, we're gonna go from there to one of her picks. And this is a complicated family album. It's Jody Redhage Ferber, Alan Ferber, and Mark Ferber. Alan and Mark are twin brothers, and Alan is married to Jody. And Jody, like Jen Allen, is a cellist, or Jen Allen started out as a cellist. And how long did you last as a cellist?
Until like my senior year of high school.
That long? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I auditioned at schools. I was pretty serious about it, but then jazz came into my life.
Yeah. Well, that didn't stop Jody.
This is true, but I didn't have her foresight.
First of all, the cut's called Paris. I love this cut, and I like this album. It's a very unusual album. The album is called Confluence. This is not just apropos of what I said before about the first album. This is not just another one of those cello, drummer, trombonist ensembles. This is different. This is special. But that's what they are, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've known both Jody and Alan for many years now, and the way that they work together on this album is just a lot of fun. Well, Jody in and of herself is a great writer and arranger and kind of one of the first call string players in New York. Like if you need a cellist or a quartet, Jody's probably going to be in there. I've worked with her many times, and she's just top notch. And I love this music. I think I'm always drawn towards music that has deep melodic structures and real deep feeling to it. And this has all of that. The whole album has a lot of actual classical influences.
About half the album is Bach covers.
Yeah. And I love what she does what they all do with them. And I've worked with Mark too, actually. So they're all just amazing musicians, and this gave me all the feels.
Yeah, she does all these interesting projects. She did this one thing with botanical gardens where she found a poet in various cities, and the poet would write a poem about the botanical garden or something, and then she would write a piece of music about it. So Mr. Meir, give us your thoughts here.
Well, first of all, when I played this in preparation for this, I could tell within seconds that this was a Jen Allen pick. I mean,
they do have a feel.
They do all somehow fit together. And once again, I hope not to make this a running theme here because it got boring, but I really like the way everything kind of layers together, just fits together and blends together. And, jazz used to be kind of skittish when it came to music that sort of evoked classical tropes like this. I mean, they thought, well, is it classical, is it jazz? It's either one or the other. I never did, and I think a lot of people don't now. And as with the other things you've chosen in this vein, I mean, I think this is going to lead to people finding out more about this group because of the kinds of things they do here.
Yeah, I think almost one of the themes this year, Noah, and it's the theme most years for us, is if you have just sort of, you're not really a jazz person, you have this kind of latent idea of what jazz is, it's probably way too restrictive. That what's really out there as jazz is just, it's just such a broad landscape in the way that the mayor is saying.
Sure, yeah, and I think there's a greater embrace, perhaps, than decades prior of that being a legitimate approach, a legitimate way of envisioning the ecosystem, that something like this doesn't have to label itself as chamber jazz or some third stream or something that wears the classical influence, the European classical influence so heavily on its sleeve. It can just be a source of expression and communication for these great musicians.
Yeah. Do you have any specific thoughts about what they're doing on this one? Particularly wondering how you felt about the Bach itself,
Yeah, I mean, a thing that I noticed about this record, I also want to shout out Adam Manis for playing a burning piano solo on this track, but when I listened to it through my listener, wearing my listener hat, I think this is just effortless, elegant music. And when I listen to it with wearing my musician hat, I think, wow, this is really hard music. And it's amazing that they make it sound so organic and effortless.
Yeah, I just am I do tend to gravitate towards Jen's picks because they're often very surprising, and also I think I have a very similar taste to you. But this thing, I could listen to this a lot. It's very, very rewarding in a lot of different ways. So yeah, great pick. And that is, once again, Joey Red-H Ferber, Alan Ferber, Mark Ferber. The album's called Confluence. All right, this next one. Oh, I should also say that the Alan Ferber Nonette was a Jen Allen pick 2 years ago. This is a Gene Seymour pick, the mayor. This is Sullivan Fortner. I feel like my algorithm is, I don't know whether it's the algorithm on my streaming service knows this about me, or just Sullivan Fortner is doing a lot of work these days. Because when I look at the new stuff that's being recommended to me, there's like always a new Sullivan Fortner thing. And it seems like he's working with somebody I didn't know he was working with. So set the stage for this, Gene. Tell us a little bit more about what's going on with this guy.
Well, it's not you. He is ubiquitous. He is like just like the sunshine. He is everywhere, and he's been kind of knocking on the doors of wider recognition going back to when I was in New York full time. I mean, he was doing all kinds of gigs with singers especially, and he's very much in the. I mean, I don't want to say tradition exactly, but he's part of a succession of great pianists, of great jazz pianists who worked in many different venues, but really have also worked with singers and have gotten their ideas of orchestrating and phrasing and playing from having to serve behind singers. And that's a real sign of just how great a repertoire he's going to be putting out there as a leader. And this album, Southern Nights, which he has a trio with Peter Washington on bass, I think it's Marcus Gilmore on drums, and the interplay, people say, well, all jazz piano trios are the same. Yeah, but it's the way they are the same, and the way these guys listen to each other, and how they interact, that kind of pulls you in. And this a lot of people I know have put this on their lists too, so just for that reason.
Yeah, I want the two pianists here to talk a little bit about either technique or just kind of what they're hearing here. And what I'm hearing too, I'm not the savant that you guys are. But it is kind of interesting. There's certain piano players or certain jazz musicians in general who really seem, very, very conscious of 145 years of jazz or whatever it would be. And I think we did our holiday special this year, as we usually do with Matt and Alan de Champlain, and we were teasing Matt because I think the thing on Spotify that tells you how old Matt's like 150 years old. And I think Sullivan Fortner, to me, he feels like he's 150 years old too. Like there's just such a consciousness of like everything. You hear Fats Waller, you hear Art Tatum, you hear stuff like that.
Well, I guess I would say that's true if he could also simultaneously be younger. He's playing an Alan Toussaint song on this track. But also the most obvious echo I hear, though all of those things are true, is a more recent one, and it's an artist who's also one of the picks that one of my colleagues picked for today. So I'm not going to name names until we get there. But this ambidextrous ability to carry multiple lines simultaneously that feel organically connected but also separate and require this real dexterity and nuance to be able to pull off simultaneously.
Yeah,
that's the thing that really stands out about this track, and how it doesn't sound flashy. It doesn't sound like Art Tatum showing off his chops. It just serves the song.
Unfortunately, we're not on YouTube today, or you can see Noah's hands as he's doing it. It's kind of interesting. He's showing us the ambidextrous hands. So yeah, Jen, what about you?
Yeah, when it comes to pianists, I'm pretty picky about what I like and don't like. And the thing about, Sullivan is that he is not only a very capable pianist who's going to get all around the piano and can do everything, because there's a bunch of pianists who are just skilled with skills, but the creativity of how he puts those ideas together seems almost endless. And there's only a few modern day pianists that I think have that same ability to kind of put forward ideas that I'm like, oh wow, I wouldn't have thought of that. And I really love that. I love when somebody's tapping into a musical space that I haven't thought of. If I can already hear where it's going, I'm usually like, eh. So it's nice.
This is Sullivan Fortner. The pick is Southern Nights, the Alan Toussaint song. It's from the Sullivan Fortner album, Southern Nights. That is Red Oak from Jen Allen's new album, Possibilities. It's a semi-new album, but it's 2025 album, Possibilities. It came out this summer. And what we're going to do here, so because two of our three panelists had albums out this year. Noah had 4 albums out this year. And, these coveted trophies, the Seymour Awards that we give out at the end of the year, they're on a platinum and stuff. We just can't make trophies for you guys.
So we can't afford platinum.
We don't have that kind of money. I mean,
I know the tariffs on platinum.
And the Trump administration clawed back our money, and it's just not a good situation. But we want to talk about both of these. So we're going to start with this. And so Possibilities is really, I think, kind of a departure album for you in a lot of ways. I mean, you're like writing lyrics, among other things, which is new, and you're working with vocalists kind of all the way through. Can you say a little bit about what's going on there? What kind of decision was that, or just something you didn't really have to think about? Or
Yeah, I mean, I grew up a latchkey kid watching MTV. So pop music is in my blood, deep down in there. And then I fell in love with jazz, and I was like studying with Jackie McLean, so hardcore history, deep in that. But I think we always come back to something that is more at our core. And I really hear melodies in a way that's kind of like a pop song. So I wanted to try my hand at lyrics, and they came. So I didn't push them away. If the muse comes and it says, "Hey, let's do this," I said, "Okay, let's do it." And it was fun. I had a great time doing it.
And there also at least two. There's the Anita Baker song "Sweet Love" and the Chaka Khan song "Ain't Nobody," which we actually played just on a Monday when it first came out. But I want to do a whole show about covers at some point, so that's kind of interesting too. But he's interested in that idea. So, and are you a producer on this album, Noah, or something like that?
Technically so. I was a fly on the wall who got to enjoy this extraordinary music being brought to fruition and occasionally make comments about it. But
super helpful.
That's what producers do, I think.
I guess. But I mean, I don't want to...
He's definitely the producer.
Sometimes a producer is a Svengali who's constructing the music, and Jen had all the vision. I was just maybe a consultant.
Right. She didn't need Quincy.
She
didn't need Quincy Jones this time.
No. And I've also been observing the development of this body of work for more than a decade now, and it's really thrilling for me, just as a fan of Jen's music, to hear it come to such soulful fruition with this band.
I have to say, one of my more embarrassing moments this year, so in our holiday special, Steve Metcalf talked me into singing a Rodgers and Hart medley, and there was a little piece of the song Manhattan that I was having a little trouble with, and I was walking my dog at Fenwood, and I had my phone out, and I was singing along with somebody singing Manhattan and trying to make sure I was getting this right. And I saw this person coming towards me, and I didn't really do very much about it. But Jen runs in Penwood Forest.
I see you often there, yeah.
So that's who's running towards me as I'm feebly trying to sing Rodgers and Hart.
I didn't know you were singing.
Yeah, no, that's the problem, actually. So Gene, some thoughts about this album.
And she was, to be clear, she wasn't trying to stop you, right?
No.
No, other people do that. Please
okay,
stop.
Other people do that. Okay.
My new album is called "Please Stop," which is what people usually say.
It's a good one.
By Gene Seymour.
No, enabled by Gene Seymour. Let's be clear. I'm not a producer. I'm an enabler. This is something we're going to be coming back to, I suspect, throughout this program. But you talked about the kinds of influences you had growing up, Jen, and the kind of pop you listened to. And I think that, right now, and again, I've lived through all the debates about, we talked about earlier, what is jazz, what isn't, what should it be leaning on for repertoire, what should it stay away from. And from the very first note of this thing, from the very first chord on this thing, I thought to myself, this is really, really, whatever it is, it's working on me, and not in a pop way, not in a kind of, well, this is nice, I could walk around with this, but I was paying attention to the things you were doing, within the contours of what seems otherwise to be a pretty straightforward melody. And I like the fact that more and more as your generation moves deeper into your work, that you're not afraid to hold on to that. You're not afraid to bring that into the room, as it were. And you don't care what other people say about it either. It's just there, And so yeah.
It's a very cool and very lovely album, and I would put the Chaka Khan and the Anita Baker on a playlist, but for the rest of it, I'm going to listen to the album. We were talking about this coming up in the elevator. It's a very intentional album, I think, it kind of goes in a certain way. So let's move on to Noah. We had lots to pick from with Noah Behrman, because, well, you should just say what this project was, first of all, because it's a project.
So the Right Now project, the phrase comes from the end of the Five Stairstep song, Ooh Child. Things will get brighter right now. And so after the election last year, I went on a recording binge of cover songs from different styles that I arranged spontaneously to express the various emotions that I was feeling around what had happened and what was to come. And boy, has it come. And so it wound up being 4 albums worth of material that I released, I guess, in serial fashion over the course of the year, mostly duets with myself on different keyboard instruments. Some of them are trios with myself, and a few of them are solo tracks.
Yeah, this is a really interesting album that way. It's a solo album, except that I think there's maybe only one track that has just one instrument on it.
There's a handful over the course of the 4 volumes.
Oh, of course of the 4, yeah. And so, and you turned to similar, I don't know if you were watching MTV at the same time as Jen.
A couple of years prior, but yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that. And so, we're getting the Pretenders, a little Chrissy Hynde. Both McPants and I really liked Games Without Frontiers, your cover of the Peter Gabriel song. That's a really, really great song.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's just a huge, really interesting project. And by now you've heard the Stevie Wonder show that we did with Noah too. So it's Volume 1 is Songs of Conflict and Comfort. Volume 2 is Songs of Solidarity. Volume 3, Our Search for Peace. And Volume 4, Visions of Steveland. And that's the one we talked about quite a bit. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit more in this segment about 2 other vocalists. The first one is nominated by the mayor, and it's a very young, exciting upstart talent named Boz Scaggs. Boz Scaggs is 81 now. I find that very upsetting somehow. But go ahead. Okay,
well, this caught me by surprise. I mean, I came across it later in the year. It's one of those albums that comes, unprepossessingly packaged, as it were. I mean, you'd pass it by 3 or 4 times before you even knew it was there. It's just a basic, straight-ahead, straightforward presentation of standards, both jazz and blues. And you say to yourself, oh, Boz Scaggs, well, okay. I mean, but what I hadn't known is that he had been doing standards for a while. Some have been well received and others not. But on this one, he managed to bring both the blues standards and the jazz standards together. And it shouldn't come as any surprise this guy could sing, because he always could. And he always had great sense of time. At no point does he sound like he's, like with some pop stars who get into classic repertoire, he's not, putting his foot on the gas to show that, yes, I got this stuff down. He really has an easy affinity with it, and he's not afraid to do the stuff that's really hard. I think the one I chose is, to me, one of the hardest songs you could do because of the different changes. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's a Lerner and Lowe song.
Too late now to forget your smile. The way we cling when we dance a while. Too late now to forget and go on to someone new. Too late now to forget your voice.
I just did want to say 2 fun facts about Boz Scaggs. One of them is, like Jan Allen, his first instrument was cello. That's actually true.
Wow.
And then when he was getting ready to do the album tour for Silk Degrees, probably his best known album, he put together a band, as they do, to back him on this tour. And as the tour went along, the guys in the band said, you know what? We all sound pretty good together. I think we're a pretty good group together. And so they became Toto. Toto was, before It was Toto, it was his backup band.
My old neighbor, Jeff Porcaro.
Yeah. Jen Allen, let's start with you. particularly now that you're working with vocalists.
I'm the vocal professional.
I hear somebody, I agree with what the mayor is saying, too. There's the way he's kind of laying it on the line here, too. This is not a song where he can take any shortcuts or duck out of anything. But I love your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know who this was until I looked him up. And I was like, oh, wow, I probably should have known, but I didn't. And so coming to it with new ears, maybe never listening to the other stuff. I didn't listen to the other stuff. I just wanted to hear this album. It was nice. It was a nice interpretation of these, just like very standard songs that you can't hide behind like skills that are going all up and down your vocal range or whatever. And especially when you're getting older, your voice is changing and you have to really just depend on your storytelling and your way of phrasing. So this was really warm and comforting.
I relive when we're apart, all the tender fun together stays on in my heart.
Noah, I for a long time would have put Boz Scaggs in. There's sort of like descendants of Mose Allison tree, and it's Ben Sidran who we were talking about a little bit before the show started, and I would have put Boz in there too. But this isn't like that. This is something different for me. But how are you reacting?
I suppose. I mean, I'm actually, from my youth, a fan of his early blues and soul stuff when we had Duane Allman playing behind him.
He was in the Steve Miller Band at the beginning, right?
Right, yeah. So 10 years before he became a yacht rock star. So I guess I'm accustomed to hearing him sing fairly unassuming versions of, like, he's cover of Fenton Robinson's Loan Me a Dime from the late 60s. It just feels very emotionally efficient, if that's a good word for it. Like there's not a lot of pyrotechnics or anything. He's just really leaning into the emotion of the song. So this album felt like kind of a full circle to me in that regard, but I never thought about the Mose Allison connection, so I have to think about that.
Yeah, I could be very wrong about that. I usually am. All right, you still have the floor here because we're going to go out of this segment with one of your picks. It's the D.D. Bridgewater, Bill Charlap album called Elemental. It's nominated for a Grammy, as is Sullivan Fortner's also nominated for a Grammy this year, too. We're going to play Honeysuckle Rose, but Noah, set this up for us.
The two things I will say are, one, if you are not taken by the abandon and playfulness that Bill Charlap and Dee Dee Bridgewater engage in with their interactions with one another and with these songs, you either hate jazz or you hate joy.
Or you hate freedom.
Possibly.
Throw that in there.
There might be any number of other things you hate, but I would consult with your local clergy person immediately if that is the case. And I will also point out that when I first heard it, I just was really taken aback, and I'm not that easily taken aback by jazz vocal records at this point in my life. And I was wondering if there was something about it that suggested clouded objectivity. And then the next time I put it on, my wife Kate from the next room was like, "What is that? Turn it up."
When I'm taking sips from those tasty lips, it seems a honey fairly drips. Your confection, goodness knows, honeysuckle rose.
Okay, so real quick before we end the segment, I want to hear from Jen and from the mayor, but Jen, you go first.
Maybe about 8 years ago or something, I saw, it was longer than that. It must have been 11 or 12 years ago. I saw Dee Dee live at the Kennedy Center at something I was doing. And I was struck by how her energy as a singer and her engagement she knows what the audience is going to be drawn in by. And this is exactly that. And to what Noah was saying, how Bill Charlap, you can't go wrong. I think he's a playful person in general, but in terms of his playing, but yeah, the way the two of them work together is just beautiful.
Mr. Mayor, quick thought.
First of all, let me say how utterly mortified I was to have come across this so late in the year, because when I heard the album, and most especially this track, I was astonished. And what astonished me was not, I mean, I've been listening to Dee Dee for years, like going back to when she sang with the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra, the Thad Jones and Mel Lewis Orchestra in the 70s, okay? And through the years when she came back from a long hiatus in Europe, and not a hiatus, she performed there, but when she came back from Europe and she jump-started her career in America, and I thought I heard everything. I swear, I thought I heard everything that she could do. But when I hear this, and I hear the things that she just tosses in, the kinds of the breaks she takes, you know, and what riff she chooses to stretch, and how she stretches it, I thought, wow, hope for those of us getting older.
All right,
you know, it's
people,
amazing.
Here we go with Dee Dee Bridgewater and Bill Charlap.
Your confection, goodness knows. Honey, honey, suckle rose. Your confection, goodness knows. Honey, suckle rose. Doo-doo-doo-dee-doo-dee.
So hold that music in your head for just a second while I say some quick thank yous and make some introductions. It's a cut by Tony Davis. With us, first of all, I got to thank the maestro. He is Dylan Reyes. He's our tech producer. And then the mastermind behind this is Jonathan McPants, who's the producer of this episode. With me in the studio, Jen Allen, Noah Behrman, Gene Seymour, our usual Titanic trio of jazz experts. You're hearing a cut by Tony Davis. The song is called Trinkets from Mars. It features Matt Nagel, I'm guessing is how you pronounce that, or Nogel, I don't know. Nagel. I'm thinking Nagel, yeah. It's from the Tony Davis album, Jessamine. I just want to say this. So this past summer, I was the host or MC or something of the Litchfield Jazz Festival, and I am actually going back to do it again this coming year. Apparently the fact that I knocked over the craft services table didn't bother anybody. So, and I have to say that there were a lot of surprises, but this guy, Tony Davis, who's the son of the wonderful Steve Davis, who we all love, and he's been an important factor on our show too. When you guys were out there, he was with Matt Dwanchik and you, right?
That's right.
Yeah. His solos, you could hear the crowd go, he has that kind of wow thing. I went up to him afterwards. I said, "You are a monster." I said, "Your father is now my second favorite musician in your family." I think this guy is really, really good, and I really like this album a lot. But Jen, this is your nomination, so I should shut up.
His mom's a great pianist too, so something to say there. But anyway, Tony, this album, I picked this song because we were just grooving to that first groove is just so great, and he writes really well, and it's again a reflection album of his childhood, things that influenced him. He was influenced by a lot of other things other than jazz, but both his parents are jazz musicians, so he has that depth, and I think there is something to that you can't give to somebody. Somebody who's been around jazz has that in their family. They're learning it from a really young age, and Tony has it. His playing's great. His writing's great. I love this because, well, these are all my friends on these these albums, but and I love the sounds that they get out of this because, you know, Matt, JB, they're all on my album, but it sounds so different because of the different types of ways that we can all play together. And I think that, yeah, Tony just nailed it with all these songs. I really enjoyed a lot of them.
It's another one of these things. It's a really good album, and ranging from the title cut is just a beautiful song. A couple of just beautiful kind of ballady kind of songs, and a cover of Paul McCartney's "I Will" that really works as well. So let's go to the mayor, and then we'll come back to Noah. But what have you got to say here, Mayor?
Well, again, I like the groove a lot. I mean, and who was that drummer, by the way?
Jonathan Barber.
Yeah. He's very, very good at sort of containing that, and I like his writing too. The actual conception of this piece. I sound like a broken record, but he layers these different voicings extremely well, and the way they kind of curve around that groove, which is, like I said, very solid, very tight. You know, I endorse it.
And Noah?
Yeah, it's a great record. It's actually, talking about the family. I mean, there's the lineage. This song, Trinkets from Mars, is a tribute to Jackie McLean. But also I had the privilege of seeing the album release show for this at Real Art Ways, and Mary, his mom, was there, and his two siblings, who were both musically soulful and expressive as well. They were all there, and it felt so wholesome and yet gnarly at the same time because the music is so intense. And I hope more people get to hear this music.
Yeah, it's a really terrific album, and he's going to be around for a long time, I think, as a really fabulous guitarist. All right, so let's go from there to our friend Jimmy Green. This is a Noah pick. It's Praises, a really, really wonderful, just joyous sounding piece from Jimmy Green's album As We Are Now. But Noah, do you want to set this up?
Jonathan Barber on drums once again. Desron Douglas, another Hartford stalwart on bass. This is just a beautiful record. I'm not going to claim a high level of objectivity because Jimmy is an important person in my life, and also my wife Kate did the album cover art for this one. But it's just a really beautiful, expressive, moving work of art, and a really honest, vulnerable work of art as well, which is once again we're touching on that theme. And this particular tune is just so uplifting.
One more time, give the drummer some. And he is a Hartford guy. That's good. That's great to know. No, I mean, for reasons that don't need to be brought up again here, there's a whole lot that Jimmy Green brings out in us as listeners because of everything that has happened to him. And again, what you said about, the joy of watching Bill Sharl, the Dee Dee Bridgewater, this kind of exhilaration is something that, is accessible to anybody whose heart beats at all. And if you don't have that, then again, as Noah suggested in another context, seek help quick.
Yeah, this is really, truly amazing. But Jen?
Yeah. I agree with everything that everybody said, and also just want to point out that his music is usually quite difficult to play, and at such a high level. He plays at such a high level. To make it sound so easy to make this happen, it's not, and he's just always very inspired in all of his actions. And his music is very much, what's the word I'm looking for, inspired by, his faith. And so I think it comes through, especially in this song.
I want to say this whole segment is the most Connecticut, particularly Hartford, West Hartford segment I think we've ever done, with Tony Davis and the guys playing on that, and the people playing with Jimmy Green. And we're going to finish up this segment with a pretty obscure guy, but I think his career could really get a boost from this, for being called out here. His name is Brad Mehldau. But once again, West Hartford strikes again. So this is sort of a double nomination. Jen, I think you own it, but the mayor was quite prepared to step in if you didn't. So why don't you get us started? We're going to, I should say, we're going to end the sort of radio part of the show pretty soon. We're going to end it with a song. But if you're listening to the podcast or you are moved to listen to the podcast, we will have a pretty exciting extra segment too as well. So, but anyway, go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to pick for the show musicians that are not that well known, just because I feel like I know what it's like to be a musician that is, putting your heart and soul and time and money into these projects, and then you don't really get a ton back from them. And there's people who get a lot of recognition, like Brad, but well deserved. I mean, he is in the history books for making this connection between the pop world and the jazz world more acceptable. And he's one of a bunch of people, but he's definitely, his ability to touch on a melody in a very genuine way is beautiful. And I had to pick this because I also love Elliott Smith. And one of my favorite things of Brad Mehldau is a YouTube video of the two of them playing together. And I've watched it multiple times. And they're not even doing that much. And it's not all that exciting, but it's like two of my most favorite musicians playing together. And so when this album came out, I was like, this was in a long time coming, and it's beautiful with strings and all the different stuff. So I just love it. Yeah,
there's a bunch of Elliott Smith songs. It's not all Elliott Smith songs. A bunch of Elliott Smith songs. This is between the bars we've got going on in the background here. I should say this is also Grammy nominated. This album, it's nominated in the alternative category, which I don't quite get. This is not like Robert Glasper or something. I don't know. Who knows why they do what they do. Noah say a little bit. We'll have Gene say a little bit, and then we'll say goodbye.
Ironically, this is my second favorite Brad Mehldau record from this year. His playing on Al Foster's new live record is stunning. But yeah, what an important figure in the music. And this is those who have stuck around and remember this. This is who I was referring to when we were talking about Sullivan Fortner. They've got a mutual admiration society, and they're really kindred spirits, even though they've got a lot of different musical DNA in terms of being able to play every inch of the piano, but do so in a way that serves the music rather than being just gratuitous shows of technique.
All right. Mr. Mayor, a few last words here?
Yeah, I wish we had more time, because I would love to hear the two of you talk more about just what it is that Brad Mehldau does with Elliott Smith's songs as songs to draw the possibilities out that he does here. Because I know you have some ideas about, since you love them both, Jen. I mean, I would love to talk to you sometime, somewhere else about where this stuff comes from in terms of how he gets it out. But I sense it, but I don't know it. So anyway.
Yeah, very cool album. Once again, really works well as an album theme this year. All right, thanks to this wonderful panel. If you're listening on the radio right now, thanks to Jen Allen and Jen Allen, Noah Behrman, and Gene Seymour. Thanks so much, and we will be back for podcast listeners with one final segment. All right, first of all, I have to say we're officially into the after hours part of our best and favorite, most favorite jazz show for 2025. So we can't really legally serve you any more drinks. We can play music, but I hope you ordered whatever you liked, right before. So this is, and I should say that this is James Brandon Lewis Quartet. It was actually, I believe, the favorite of the whole year, picked by the mayor, Gene Seymour. He does his top 10 jazz recordings of 2025 on That Gene Seymour, his Substack. And so I don't know. Just we should also say that the song is Per Seven and the album is Abstraction is Deliverance. And Gene Seymour, the mayor, get us going.
Well, I think that for the people listening out there, I'm sure that what they're hearing is something that sounds at once very familiar, if they have any kind of connection to the history of this music, particularly going back as far as the 60s or the even late 50s. But there's something also very strikingly new about the way this kind of incantatory style of saxophone playing, which I guess anyone who's heard even a little bit of Coltrane is familiar with. But it isn't enough to say, oh, it sounds like Coltrane. It doesn't quite. It's at once. It has a fluidity of its own and a kind of a force of its own that allows for, I guess, greater amplitude by the people who are playing with him, especially like that. He has a really this I can't say enough about this quartet. The pianist who was almost made my list himself for his own album, Arwan Ortiz, who's a gorgeous stylist and stands out. And we referred to earlier about the wave of young pianists out there. He makes his mark very much so as a pianist on this album and other things he plays on. It's the reason why I put this up there so high is because it is something that people can connect with almost immediately, but can be taken somewhere different if they stay with it long enough. If that makes any sense.
It has that kind of ode to an older sound with new stuff in there. And I was very unfamiliar with this, so it was nice to hear this now. And I have to do some more listening because I'd like to hear more of what he's doing.
Yeah, on Slack, Jonathan McPants wrote, this is very much like we're in a movie from 1961. And it does sort of feel that way, but it also feels, to the mayor's point, also very modern as well. Yeah. Noah.
Yeah, when I listen to him play, it's striking how much it evokes, as the mayor was saying, sort of post-Coltrane world. I think about Archie Shepp and Pharoah Sanders as being kind of precedent for his sound. But unlike Kamasi Washington, who's become really famous for getting into that vibe, it's really interesting how his creative restlessness puts that approach to playing in different contexts. We've got something like this that really evokes that semi-avant-garde acoustic jazz sound. But last year he put out this record with the Mesthetics, this Midwestern experimental rock band, and his sound fit just as organically into that.
I like the term Midwestern experimental rock band. I mean,
They're big into that out there.
yeah, exactly. The Music Man, like you've never heard it before. All right. Well, listen. Speaking of music, we're going to move on here. I think this is also another one, Gene. That, like, if we just played it to you without telling you anything, you know, it was a Jen Allen pick. It has a little bit of a Jen Allen feel to it. But this is, I think I'm saying this right. Rin Saw Collective. It's SEO, but if you're trying to look it up on some streaming service or something, so Rin Saw Collective. This is City Suite. Won the Big Apple. But before we play it, maybe set this up a little bit.
Yeah, Rin is a composer I met through the BMI Jazz Composer Workshop. And there's all these jazz composer things that we go to. And she's always standing out with her compositions. So it was fun to see this new album come out that's a non-traditional instrumentation. She uses string quartet with Jody on cello again.
Yeah, Jody Ferber from earlier in the show.
And Alan's the producer on it. But Alan runs the BMI workshop, so he's often kind of having a hand in projects like this, which is nice. It's nice to have somebody who has such great ears in these projects. But anyway, she's such an accomplished composer and arranger, orchestrator, and I just like how she put this together. I think the parts kind of weave in a way that makes complete sense, but it's also very difficult and very just something new. As I said before, I'm always looking for something that kind of takes me into a new musical sphere that I haven't heard before, and that I can't complete the sentence, but you're completing that sentence in a new way. And that the way she does that on this album is really nice.
I will confess that I was asleep on her work until Jen hipped me to it, and what a gorgeous album. And I would like particularly to note how organically the strings fit in. Writing for jazz with strings is already difficult, but it tends to take on this sort of lush orchestrational vibe as opposed to the strings being really engaged rhythmically the way they are here, which is difficult to write, difficult to play, and yet just gives this an edge that's especially gnarly and satisfying.
Mr. Mayer.
He stole my bit, but it's okay. I was going to mention the strings as well, but instead I have a question, and maybe you can answer this for me, Jen. She calls it a collective as opposed to a band. What is it about this particular, like in this track, for instance, that makes this more of a collective approach as opposed to, just a company or an orchestra or something?
Well, it's not a traditional setup, I think. If it was a traditional big band, you'd say big band, or, if it was more of an orchestra, you could do that. But I think there's a horn in here, there's trombone, there's trumpet, and then there's a whole woodwind section, and then then a string quartet as well, and the rhythm section. So I think it's just a nice way to to word it differently.
I was going to say, I suspect it's more the interplay that's different, as opposed to being arranged. Maybe everybody kind of comes in and collectively, I guess, puts forth whatever it is they're trying to get at and what they're evoking.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of improvisation in this too. I think she doesn't abandon that for. Actually, it's very organic in how she writes it into the piece.
Yeah, I didn't get enough time to really dive into the album. I love this a lot. And for people who are looking for it, once again, it's Rin, R-I-N, space, S-E-O, space, collective. And the album is called City Suite. And yeah, I think this is just so engaging and just, you know, a lot to listen to. You have to listen to it a lot of times before you get everything. Okay, we got 2 more to go. We're going to start with another one of the Mayors. This is Steve Lehman Trio and Mark Turner. And you want to set this one up for us?
Well, it is the name of the album is the Steve Lehman Trio plus one, performing the music of Anthony Braxton. And whether you know that name, I think depends on how much of jazz, particularly the progressive arm of jazz, you know, and 2, whether you spent any time at all in the Wesleyan music department, because he was there for quite a long time, and in the process wrote a lot of music, did a lot of incredible programming, but also put out a lot of graduates, notably Steve Lehman, who plays alto on this, and he seems to have acclimated in this very small group setting, which is, let's be clear, it's not the kind of small group that one associates with Anthony Braxton's music. And again, it would take days to explain why that's different, but it has that it has a different kind of vibe, and it is at once reflective of the person he's paying tribute to. By the way, Mr. Braxton is still alive and well. He turned 80 years old this year. But also is a very, very accessible way of getting into what some people say is very complicated music.
Jonathan Maynichol just slacked me. A lot of notes.
Perhaps too many, actually. Yes.
So, Noah, get us started, and then we'll hear from Jen, too.
So I've known Steve since he was an undergrad at Wesleyan, in fact, in the late 90s. And he also, for what it's worth, spent time while he was a Wesleyan student coming up to Hartford and attending Jackie McLean's saxophone class. So that part of his lineage is especially conspicuous when you hear him playing with his longstanding trio with Matt Brewer and Damian Reed. But I really can think of no living person better equipped to interpret this music. And hearing Mark Turner, who put out some great music of his own, he's on Billy Hart's new record and put out an amazing solo saxophone record that didn't get as much attention as I would have hoped, in addition to another thing of his own. It's a perfect fit for this music, and it's just intellect, yes, but a lot of fire throughout.
You know, it's so interesting the way we keep coming back to some of this kind of, Connecticut geography of this stuff. And so one, I guess it's a Substack or a newsletter or something that I discovered, because I always read any interview that Jen Allen ever gives, it's called the 8495. Is that what it's called? Yeah. It's called, and it's because of 84 and 95. But it's sort of this, it's not just Connecticut. I think it starts at Newburgh in New York and goes down to wherever. Yeah. But it is kind of true, I'm always saying Connecticut's the Tigris and Euphrates of jazz, and I see it kind of as a joke, but kind of not. It's just amazing, just how much stuff just pours out of this little place. But Jen, your thoughts about this?
I mean, to your point, it's because of the people who put roots here, and initially it was Anthony Braxton, Jackie McLean, and a whole host of other people. Those are just kind of the people who were involved in this specific recording, I also remember I was at Hart when Steve was coming up, so that's how I met him initially. But I'm not as, schooled in Anthony Braxton, which I'd love to be. It's just life is very busy and full. But when I listen to something like this, I feel like we do think, oh, it's a ton of notes, but it's really rhythmically focused in terms of where they're placing this stuff and how they're doing it. And I think it's, I wouldn't want to be sitting in on any of this. It is very difficult.
You'd be fine. Are you kidding? You'd be fine.
Yeah, no,
very
it's a
difficult.
little intimidating, I think.
And I mean, I think there are some musics that are about the skill and the stretching of the mind and stretching of the skill, and this music definitely has that.
I would like to also throw in, if I may, that Steve is among the musical figures who lost a home in the California wildfires earlier this year, and that he has continued to show up and bolster community and draw attention to important music and musicians, I think is a testament to his integrity as a person and as a figure in this ecosystem.
Actually, somebody else who lost everything, but I think it was the 2017 wildfires. Boz Scaggs lost everything, including like cocktail napkins with lyrics written on them, and just like he lost everything. And if you think about Boz Scaggs' career and who he's worked with, that was probably a lot of everything. So these fires are, they're bad in so many different ways. So, but let's end with something a little bit happier, and that is Jonathan Blake, and this is a Noah Behrman pick. So Noah, Noah set this up for us.
Well, I want to shout out my friend Richard Kamens, who in a Substack post referred to Jonathan as the MVP of this year, and it's very easy to make that case given his work on Kenny Barron's new record and Sumi Tanoka's new record, as well as his own. He also played with me in Bushnell Park over the summer, for anyone listening who was there. And this record, once again, social consciousness and vulnerability. He's an extraordinary drummer. I've loved his writing for years, and it feels like it's coming together here in a particularly, I don't want to say chilling way because that will turn off your listeners, but in a particularly emotionally potent and heavy way.
Yeah. Amazing how drummers kind of do emerge that way. I think the other MVP, I can't think of his name, but who's the guy who played with them at Cohen, who came to Litchfield and played with
Was it Joe Farnsworth? No.
Yes, that's who it was. And like he is having an MVP year or MVP career.
We'll let the voters decide, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely. So, Gene, why don't you go next, and we'll end with Jen. But your thoughts, Gene?
Well, again, I mean, this guy has been somebody who's been on my radar for a very long time, and I was quite pleased to see that he has somehow made his way to the Blue Note constellation with this album. Is that right? And this is his first Blue Note.
His third Blue Note record, actually.
Third Note Blue. Okay, well, I was very happy to see that had happened for him, but also that he found some really, really nice people to play with here. I was very impressed with the vibraphonist, especially on this, who's top notch. His name escapes me now.
Jalen Baker is his name.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I knew you'd remember. And this we've got a lot of love for drummers this year, apparently. So this is another one.
Well, I think we should also say, it hasn't really been mentioned yet, this is arguably kind of a concept album.
Oh, very much.
And it is
a concept album.
Yeah, and so another thing he does is he uses a DJ who I think is Oliver Lake's son, maybe? Something like that.
Right.
And there's a lot of found sound in there that has to do with people who were killed as a result of police actions and stuff like that. This is not just a concept album. I would say it's a protest album. I think I read an interview where he said he didn't really start out with that idea, but that's kind of how it happened. So it's politically, I think, a very powerful album as well. But Jen, go ahead.
It's funny how when you start a creative project and you're like, oh, you have one idea, and then you realize what's deeper within you. And I think that's what's maybe happened for him. And just, being as in demand as he is, he doesn't have to have an album where he's being artistic and having something to say. Like, he could just have a great career being a sideman, and a lot of people do that. But his artistic voice is really unique, and I think needs to be heard in a way that I don't want to say this without sounding negative, but I think there's a lot of music that, I think the general public is being fed maybe the McDonald's version of music, and everybody's fine with that. And then you hear something like this that has a little bit more like, Michelin star quality to it. And you're like, oh, wait, that's what real music with meaning behind it is. And so I would just encourage people to take a step into something that's a little deeper and maybe meaningful, and be surprised that it can really move you into new places.
That was very, very well put and very well said. And we're going to end the show, or the after hours part of the show, with Jonathan Blake